What is up, guys? In this video we're going to be talking about references and pointers in C++, and we're going to be covering the very basics of what these are. So the first thing I want to demonstrate is a reference, and a reference is exactly what it sounds like. It's kind of like an alias for a different variable, so it's just a different name that you can use for something you created earlier. And it's hard to explain, so I'm just going to create an example such as, let's pretend we have a fruit, which is a banana, right? Now we can go ahead and create an alias, or also known as a reference, to an item. And then that's going to equal the fruit. Now, because we entered this ampersand in front of the variable name, we can now use this as a variable name for fruit, and they both mean exactly the same thing. So if we go ahead and print this out, we can type in reference, and we are going to print out the item, plus we're going to end the line to make things easy. Now, if we go ahead and run this program, you're going to notice that printing out item is going to be the same thing as printing out banana. That is because we created a reference, which is just an alias for the previous item that we created, which was a fruit. And in short, that's essentially what a reference is. And we can also go ahead and print the memory address. Here we're going to go ahead and cout memory address. And we can also use the ampersand symbol to get the memory address, which means if we do and item, this is going to print out the memory address, and we're going to duplicate this line of code like that, except this time we're going to change this to fruit. So if we're not creating a variable, this is going to be used to locate the memory address on the computer. And to demonstrate, we will run this program, and you're going to notice that our temporary memory address for this variable is this code right here. And as you may have noticed, they both have exactly the same code, which means they are exactly the same variable. And again, we just created a reference for the fruit from earlier, and that's why we can print out banana by typing item. Now, since these are exactly the same variable, if we were to go ahead and change item to apple and then print out the reference, you're going to notice that changing the reference will indeed change also the original variable. So now we have the reference that's been updated to apple, even if fruit was initially set to banana. Now let's go ahead and talk about pointers. So how do we create a pointer? Well, first we want to define what kind of variable it is, so we're going to call it a string, and then we provide an asterisk immediately after. And we also need to provide a variable name, which for this example I can just call pointer, and then we need to provide the memory address of the variable. So this is going to be @fruit, and that's how we successfully created that pointer. So the basic difference between a pointer and a reference is that a pointer stores the memory value, while a reference just holds a reference to another variable. So if we go ahead and actually print this out, you're going to notice that the pointer is going to be very similar to the memory address, because they are essentially the same thing. Then let's print that. And as you can see, the pointer holds this memory address, which is also the same as the previous two. Now we can also go ahead and modify this pointer. So if we go ahead and use the asterisk pointer, and we change this to something else, and then we decide to print this pointer, I'm also going to show you that we can dereference it. So dereference, and what that means essentially. So to dereference it, all you have to do is provide the asterisk, just like we did over here when we renamed this pointer. And what dereferencing does is take the memory address and change it back into its original variable. So right now, if we go ahead and print this to the console, you're going to notice that when we dereference this pointer, it's going to have this text over here. If we just print the pointer, we're going to have the memory address instead. And if we don't change the pointer at all, it's going to have the item, which is apple. So let's just go back to what we had earlier. So now it's something else. And you might also notice that this is going to change each time you rerun the program, because each time you create a memory address, your computer is aligning some memory to this specific variable while the program is running. So that's why on your computer, this might seem a bit different. And yeah, those were the basics that I wanted to cover on how you can use references and pointers. In a future tutorial, we'll go more in depth about that, because of course this can be used with memory manipulation, but for an intro to pointers and referencing, I think this will suffice. But of course, if you have any questions or comments, leave it in the comment section down below, and I'll do my best to answer them. Otherwise, I will see you guys in the next video.